What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are finally going to be getting the bodywork finished on the Supra so that we can get this thing ready for paint. We're coming down to the deadline because we have wheels coming, tires are coming, everything's going to be here in the next couple weeks, so we got to get this thing finished. So let's head to the shop and get started. Alright guys, so we just got to the shop. Let me show you what we have so far. I did do the bodywork on the driver's side before I started this video so that I could do the passenger side and record that whole thing. But here's what we have. As you can see, what you're seeing here is the glazing putty, which I did all over the car just to do all the little pinholes and minor imperfections just to make sure everything's perfect when we go to lay down that paint. But as you can see here, we got all of the body lines nice and crisp. Everything's looking really sharp. All the lines are perfect. Same thing down here. This is always the worst body line I see on all of these cars. They just like never line up at all. This one's all good. We had to do a lot of body work to that. Same thing up here by the hood. All of the lines are nice and clean and perfect. We also did all the body work to the inside edge of the fenders and panels so that everything sits against the body nice and tight all the way down and around. As you can see, same thing up here. Now I'll show you the other side just so you can see what it looked like before. As you can see here, the body lines. Now these are all bolted and secured. I got all the pieces connected, but as you can see here, the body lines just they aren't very good. Same thing where the fender sits against the car. There's a lot of gaps, a lot of imperfections, especially down here by the gas cap. This is going to require a lot of work. Same thing right here. As you can see the light through that. We'll have to clean all that up. Down here, as you can see, these just don't match at all, so we're gonna have to get brackets made for this, get all this secured. Same thing here, brackets for underneath to get all that secured. And then up here on the hood, you can see all these gaps between the hood and the fender. But from what I've seen on a lot of these wide body kits that are made of fiberglass and plastics and all that kind of stuff, there are a lot of imperfections. When you see pictures of cars that have had wide body kits done to them, they just look like trash because they'll leave like the fenders like this, or they'll leave stuff like this where nothing lines up, and they just paint them and throw them on the car, and that's it. And I hate that. It gives wide body kits such a bad rep. But when the body work's done right and everything's smooth and flows and everything looks good, they really change the look of the car for the better. But let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is get the brackets made for the side skirts and the front fender so that we can get all that secured and bolted down. That way we can do the body work to it. So let's get those made and we'll get started. All right, so here's some of the stuff we're working with. We got our 3x3 brackets from Home Depot. I'll show you what we're going to do to turn these into side skirt brackets for the passenger side. We already did it on the driver's side, so I know it works really well actually. So we're going to be cutting these up, bending these, making these work. We got our sticks here just to pull the mud out of the can, mix it up. We got our spreaders, we got our different blocks, a couple putty knives, we got our wax and grease remover, we got our guide coat. This stuff makes everything so much easier. Definitely recommend this. We just got our body filler, respirator, glazing putty, got our riv nuts. We're going to be using these on the brackets as well. Then we have some sanding paper and our acetone for just prepping everything. Now, before we start that side, I do just want to kind of reiterate how much work went into this side. I have about 25 hours of work from front to back on this thing. It looks like nothing actually took place because this all has been primed. I just did a filler primer on everything just so that we can wet sand it one more time and make everything as flat as we can before we actually do sealer, base coat, and then our clear coat. So I'll actually insert a couple of pictures of what this thing looked like during the bodywork stage now so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so what we're going to do with these brackets, very simple. We're going to cut this piece off, and then we're going to put a little grind mark here and then bend this tab back, which is going to allow us to bolt up to the car, and then this is going to give us 2 mounting points for these side skirts. So let's go ahead and get these made, and then we'll get started with the body work. Alright guys, so we just got this bracket made. Basically the way this works is it just bolts up underneath to pre-existing screws right there, and then this gives us a bolting point through the bottom of the side skirt where these holes are at, and just allows us to bolt up to this and secure it down. So now that these are all made, we are going to get the car off these ramps, move it as far this way as we can so that we have plenty of room to work on that side. Alright guys, we just threw down our first coat of mud on the rear panels. So we got some of this gapping filled in. We probably will have to do a second coat. We got our seam filled in here. As you saw, I cut that with a razor blade. That's how I get that like razor sharp line. And then once we sand that, it'll be even more defined. So we got all of our edges filled in. We got these first two pieces done. So once this dries in about 15 minutes, we're gonna get all this sanded, then move forward to the rest. Alright guys, so as you can see, we just did the first coat. We got all this smoothed out. We do have to do one more small coat and fix this little chip I got when I dropped one of these pieces. But that's no big deal. Now what we'll do is pull each piece off individually, sand this outside edge, remove the tape, put it back in the car, see how it fits, and then do any touch-up if we have to. Alright guys, so after the first coat, you can see our line is already looking perfect. And then as you can see against the car here, all that gapping is starting to fill in, and that's just after one coat. So as you can see, that mud makes a huge difference even down here by the gas cap. Just after the first coat, we're almost all the way filled in. We'll have to do one more small coat in here. That'll pretty much finish off this panel. This one on this side of the car actually feels a lot smoother than the other side. There's a big bump in the other side, so I think we're actually going to be get away without doing any major bodywork to the face of the panel. And then we'll move down here and start this joint next. Alright guys, so it has been a couple of days. I did film a time lapse of me sanding this whole side, but I don't know what happened to the footage. It's gone, so whatever. Sanding's not that fun to watch anyway, so we'll skip over that part, but I will show you where we're at now. Starting in the front here, as you can see, I'm doing my second coat on this joint. Working around, I got all this coming together pretty well, even down here. We're going to do one more coat on this seam here, but as you can see, it's lining up very well. So started to get all of the edges inside the fenders filled in. If it'll focus there it is. So as you can see, all this is very tight against the body now. Same thing back here. All this is filled in really nice. All of our seams are starting to come together really well. Same thing up here by the gas cap. We have to do one more small coat here, but this is looking really good. Same thing back here. All this is coming together very nice. So once that's all done, we're going to use some filler primer, spray over this thing, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, and there you have it. We just finished the primer on these first two parts. We pulled those off, got them all sprayed in. As you saw, all we have to do are these last couple, and that is pretty much going to do it for the bodywork on this thing. I have maybe 50 hours of time on this kit. It was a lot of work. That's why it's been so long since I've posted an update video. But now that the bodywork's done, I will be posting videos a lot more frequently. In the next video, we are going to be building a paint booth with ventilation, exhaust, all that, so that we can spray this thing ourselves. I'm really looking forward to that. So if you guys aren't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. The next video is going to be pretty awesome. And if you haven't, hit that like button too. It really helps the videos out. But if anyone has a question on what we did in this video, make sure you leave that question down below. I'll make sure to answer all the questions. But until next time guys, I will see you around. Peace.